Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Deadly Deck's Devlog live stream, almost number 40, very close, number 39. This is going to be another episode working on particularly Eris, the Blood Assassin, building out the kit, seeing if we can kind of make that come together. I maybe, just maybe, had some breakthroughs over the past day or so. While driving around just doing stuff, you know, where all the good ideas really come from when you're not sitting at the desk. And I'm excited to try it out because I think there's a chance that I may have some of her kit actually worked out. Let's get into it. I'm going to jump over to the game. And let me just make a quick announcement on the Discord. If you want to join the Curtis Wow Discord, you definitely can. The description is the description is in the link. No, the link is in the description down below. Let me just let everyone know. Oh, I don't have the link. Shoot. So a lot of what I was thinking about with Eris is like, it's these two things really. It's figuring out, number one, what to do with bleeding. Bleeding has been this status effect that has eluded me, although I feel like I keep circling the same idea. I just haven't committed to it. And now I feel very strongly that it's time to just double down on my initial idea and just move forward with it. And that is that, as opposed to like poison or fire doing like damage over time, bleeding actually doesn't do any damage over time, but it does unlock other attacks that can only be done if a creature is bleeding. We'll see how it turns out. I feel like this could be a real turning point for the bleeding status and as well for Eris, who's supposed to be like a blood assassin, whatever that means right now in the year of our Lord 2026. And I'm hoping that we will be able to kind of like resolve how she plays. And I think I can do it. So jumping literally right into it, let's go ahead and take a look at Eris. The thing with Eris has usually been, I've wanted Eris to feel like a hero who kind of like can cause bleeding and then does a really big thing to kind of like assassinate one of the creatures, one of the bad guys, deal all bad, one of the bad guys. And so what I'd like to do with this, I think the way to do this is this. It starts with this Assassin's Blade. I think this is the most important part of this right here, which is that there will be two attacks. One of them is a basic attack, and you can cause 1 to 3 bleeding tokens on a creature, maybe 1 to 2. I don't know. We'll see. And then there's another attack that you can only do if there is bleeding on that creature. And then we already have this one, which is the Blood Dagger, which that's great. I love how this thing works already. No problems there. This one is a dagger that if the creature is bleeding and you hit them with the thirst, it will satiate the dagger and it will actually summon a blood pixie, which is pretty cool. There's a couple little things we got to work on with the blood pixie, primarily the fact that it just doesn't attack at all. So there's really no reason to summon this creature unless Eris is being attacked, in which case it may be absolutely useless in some scenarios. I don't really want that to happen. We want to make sure that things are useful in as many scenarios as possible. It's just how useful. All right, so let's give it a shot. I want to try and see if we can just start right here with this Assassin's Blade. And the way that this would work is to bring back that attack, and we would bring back the other attack that's right below it. Exactly. And now the way this will happen is we come up here and we're going to say what Slice is going to do is slice is going to cause bleeding no matter what. So that's going to be part of the new thing I'm testing. I think I've been too stingy with the bleeding tokens, and I think that's why bleeding has just not really done anything. It just hasn't felt like it could do anything, because by the time you even get a bleeding token on the table on a creature, they could be dead by the next round, which maybe has a little bit to do with balancing. I could totally understand that. So what this is going to do is on success, do 1 damage. If 1 equals, if 1, add 1 bleed. If 2, add 2. Actually, let's do this. If 1 or 2, add 1 bleed token. If, what did I call it? Epic? If epic, I don't think we call it epic. We call it epic? If crit, that's right. If crit, add 2 bleed tokens. Now, what this should do is it should free it up so that when she attacks, these creatures will more often than not, unless we fail, create 1 to 2 bleed tokens. Now, why would that be really cool? Because of this attack, which is going to follow it, which is going to basically say, can I grab this text, or is this text not grabbable? There we go. Now this is going to be when there are more than one, if you have more than 1 bleed token, we're going to say something like, yeah, we're just going to go with this. Once there are 2 bleed tokens, let me get the bleed symbol out here. Where are you, little bleed symbol? Where'd you go? Where'd you go, you little bleed? Projects? Deadly decks? Where on earth did I put my little bleed token? Where are you, little cutie? You little cutie. You little cutie bleed token. Get over here. Get over here. Get in here. Get in here. What are you doing? Get it. Why? Why am I not allowed? Oh, because because you're in the middle of typing thoughts. That's what Photoshop says. Okay. Okay. Here we go. All right. We're going to come in here. I'm going to drop this down here. I'm going to copy it. Get rid of that. It's a little off center. It's okay for now. It'll give me a good reason to come back and fix it later. And then this bleed token is going to exist like right here-ish for now. I think we'll just do something like this. And this. I like the idea of it being a 2. Like you need to have 2 bleed tokens for this to work. So what that basically means is a creature that you attack has to have 2 bleed tokens on it to even attempt to do this thing. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, what will it do? We're gonna say on success, interesting. I'm having some thoughts. I'm seeing how this is coming together. I don't think we're gonna do the bleeding thing here. We're gonna actually take this down here. We're gonna get rid of the other one. Here's what we're gonna say. On success, do 1 damage. On success, do 1 damage plus 1 damage for each bleed token. God, that could get crazy, couldn't it? Okay, that's too OP, obviously. That's way too OP. We can't do that. We can't do that, guys. That's not going to happen. On success, do 1 damage plus 1 damage for each of these tokens. On success, do 1 damage. If 1 or 2, add 1 bleed token. If crit, add 2 bleed. Darn, this is where it gets to like... I keep getting stuck with this. What I initially wanted it to be was you can only use this. You can only use this if the creature has 2 bleed tokens on them. But here's where the problem comes in. If I do that, then once you've added 2 bleed tokens, you don't really have a reason to use this again, because now you could switch to this one. And I really don't like these mechanics where the power cycle goes up, or the power progression goes up, where something becomes unusable primarily because you did use it. Now it's not as usable. So what we really want is on success. So tricky. On success, do 1 damage. If you get a 1 or 2, you add 1 bleed token. This means you could have up to like 10 bleed tokens on it. So we really don't want that to happen. We don't want it to be that you end up putting like 10 bleed tokens plus damage tokens on it, right? But then if we create it such that the status of bleeding happens just 1 token, then we have limited God, this system, I just cannot design my way out of this system. It's like if you add a bleed token and then you can add multiple bleed tokens and they don't do additional damage, then what do? And if they unlock different attacks, then you really need to have like things that use blood, like that have a wounded creature, and then you can hit them and you can attack them, right? Man, this thing keeps stumping me. I keep getting stumped by Eris and the bleeding. I think the thing that stumps me about it, if I just kind of process it, is that the bleeding tokens, if I give them power to do damage over time, then the issue is that then she's kind of more powerful than most other characters, because she can create this bleeding, which will then, you know, if she hits and does 2 bleeding tokens on a first pass through and she does 2 damage, let's say, and you're down to 4, or sorry, you're down to 5 health with 2. And then let's say she adds 2 bleed tokens. Now every turn he's going to lose 2 without even attacking it. And that just doesn't, that feels like something I can't, I don't know, maybe I should just let it happen. But that feels like then on your next turn, if you hit it and did it again, you're just exponential curve of damage you could do over time, which means, you know, for something to last longer than 3 or 4 rounds, you would need to have like almost 15 health for it to last 3 rounds if she hit every single time. And that's the problem that I keep coming back to with bleeding, is like bleeding feels like it can't be something you stack. And then here comes the Ouroboros of the design. So then if I eliminate the stacking of bleeding, now we just have it as a status effect, which means now if she creates bleeding, the creature just is bleeding now. So then anything that I had that maybe causes bleeding is kind of useless because I've already caused bleeding. That's the thing I keep running into. It's so tricky because I love the mist token. God, that mist token is just so beautiful how it works to make you feel like you're actually creating vulnerabilities and misses. And I love this token so very much. Basically, if you hit and there's a mist token, you get a +1 damage when you hit. But at the end of that round, if you didn't hit, it goes away. And I just love that because it's just so narratively compelling that that's exactly what happened in battle. They missed or they got confused or something. And now if any of your team can hit them while the mist token's on them, they'll take 1 additional damage when they get hit. And if they don't, they recover and then they're back to normal. So I really love this state so much. And it stacks as well, which is great because it always gets wiped away. And then this bleeding status is just, man, it just is not vibing with me on how the bleeding status works. If I make it where a bleeding token can cause +1 damage over time, and you can only do 1 of them because it's a status effect, then that limits its value from start to finish, because it means creatures with lower health will actually, you'll do higher percentage of damage. Whereas once you get later in the game, bleeding will become almost non-effective. Doing 1 damage on a turn because they're bleeding is really not going to do much. Things to solve this. If I were to do a stackable bleeding system, I could make it where you can only bleed them up to a certain point based on their health. I still feel like we'll probably run into the same situation, which is if you have weapons that can cause bleeding, then those weapons, or at least the ones that will cause bleeding, will become less effective once you've reached that quota. And that's the problem, is I really don't want that to happen. We could do a thing where bleeding doesn't cause damage over time, which I... Does that even make sense narratively? Doesn't bleeding always cause damage over time? I'm kind of like, maybe we could do a thing where bleeding... Hey, what's up, Raymond? Welcome. Yo, thanks for coming by, dude. You're first, I think. Yeah, you're first. Yay. Thanks for coming by, dude. And thanks for sending that stuff about the Roblox for limiting the velocity and stuff. I need to check that out for real. Oh, for real? How was it? This is the final season, right? This is the end of the boys. Which is exciting. I haven't been keeping up with it. I kind of watch like reviews and stuff, but it's not like watching it. That's like the audiobook version of watching it. We are still here trying to figure out Eris and this bleeding. I was just kind of like going on this design rant about just bleeding in general if I stack it, allow it to be stacked and it does damage over time, then the damage that Eris can do is kind of exponential, or any bleeding is exponential. So don't want that to happen because that's too hard to balance. But then if I don't make it stack, then it will limit the usage of any weapons that can cause bleeding, because once you cause bleeding, then you're kind of like, oh, well, that's one and done, you know? What? The supernatural actors? Are they going to be in it? For real? I only watched some of Supernatural, but I can see why people love it so much. People who love Supernatural are like hella into it. Raymond, how's your project going? I am, by the way, I'm so close to releasing Scroll to Sleep. I think at this point, like, part of the stress I feel about like streaming and working on Deadly Decks is that I'm like so close to finishing Scroll to Sleep. And dude, I checked yesterday, not yesterday, I think on Monday, I was going through the Apple Store, because again, this app has been up there for 6 years and just not touched and never monetized and never updated or anything. And people have been downloading it over the past 6 years. And I kind of knew that that was the case. And then when I checked it yesterday, dude, there's 500 downloads a day. And people visit the storefront 4,000 times a day. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, please, guys, I can't even tell you, because I have a hard time sharing everything that I do on stream. I'm definitely working on it, working on learning how to do that, where I can share more of what I'm doing. But like, my day is so like 6-sided die, where I just roll it and I'm flipped on this, and then I'm doing that, and then I'm teaching in the city, and then all this stuff. But just know that like, I have been like just chipping over the past 3 months on this app, and it's so close to launching, and I don't know what will happen with the monetization structure of it. I don't think anything bad will happen, because I didn't touch the original stuff in the game that's free for everyone to use. So it still is free. Like, the scene that is free. And then there's a subscription model for all the new stuff that I put in. And so I'm just hoping. I am just hoping, guys. Like, I can't even tell you. I'm like at the casino putting it all on black. Like, it's just, there's a 50-50 chance, or at least from my perception, 50-50 chance. And I don't know what the actual probability is. I mean, if I make money, it'll be 100% chance, but there's a 50-50 chance, in my opinion, that this could solve a lot of my financial hardships, which, like, I don't really like go too much into, but they're real. They're very real. You haven't gotten to work on your project too much. You've been getting paid to do your contracting work. Hey, good job. Raymond, that's a great reason not to do your project work. Good job. That's kind of what I've been doing. I know. Oh my God, Raymond, you have no idea. I mean, you do know. I want to say you don't have any idea, but you do have every idea. It's so close. And my birthday on Monday, I was working through the weekends because I wanted it to come out on my birthday. I don't know why, just like arbitrary reasons. It just felt like a new birthday happening. Like, let me get a win under my belt. Let me be able to be like, today's my birthday. I just launched a new app. That day passed. And so I'm so close. I'm so close. I can't wait. I can't wait. You guys are going to be the first ones to know, because as soon as I get it launched, what I'm hoping for is, after I stream today, I'm gonna finish up the last like 1 to 2 features that I have to put into it, and then update the App Store with, you guys know how this goes, with like the images, with the videos, rewrite the description, upload the build, which is going to take an hour. That's even if it goes right the first time, and then upload it to Google, which hopefully, usually Google is kind of like, yeah, right, we'll just do whatever you want to do. So it should be okay on Google. And then we'll see. What? Fist fight? What's going on? Welcome back, Fist fight. I got Bitcoin. Please tell me I have Bitcoin. Guys, I had Bitcoin over the pandemic when it was at 23,000. And I'm not even a crypto bro. I'm not even all up in crypto. I'm not like that. But I knew it was going to go up. I still think it'll go up way beyond where it is. And I sold it at like 30. Why, God, why? Oh, that's right. I have children. It's a good reason. It's a good reason to sell something that you thought was going to go up but didn't go up because you needed to make money for your children's well-being. So in that sense, I feel like a pretty responsible dad, which is a nice consolation prize. But darn. And when it goes way past that in like the next 10 years, I don't know. Hopefully I'll make some money so I can hit it back. But anyway, I don't know, bleeding, guys, bleeding. I feel like it's not Eris that's so much the problem as it's really comes down to bleeding. So I'm just gonna go on a game design rant. I'm gonna try and come up with a billion different ways that bleeding can work, so I can really map out the space of decision making that I need to do to kind of get this thing to happen. No, it hasn't, but I still think it will. You want to know why? One simple reason why I think Bitcoin will do well. Marketing. Like, I don't care how many other cryptocurrencies have come out since Bitcoin. The hundreds of thousands of maybe even millions of Bitcoin startups and ideas that they've created. The fact of the matter is, soccer moms have heard of Bitcoin. That's it. That's my whole reasoning behind Bitcoin. Is that Solana, who knows, who's ever heard of Solana? I'm not talking about us. Of course we've heard about it. What is it? Nobody's ever going to catch that one, right? Bitcoin is already the McDonald's of crypto. Everybody's heard about it. It's been written up for like almost a decade now. Everyone knows about it. And in my opinion, it'll do well because over time, that's never going to go away. Oh, yeah. So I'm telling you to spend 1K in Bitcoin. Welcome to the strangely awkward Curtis Wow Crypto Bro stream. This is like finding a shiny Pokemon, a rare ultra shiny of the Curtis Wow streams where I go into detail on why Bitcoin's going to do well. But people can say what they want. My opinion is Bitcoin is completely speculative right now. Like it never took off the way they said it was. It never did the things they said it was going to do. We were all supposed to be paying our electric bills with Bitcoin at this point. It didn't happen. So at this point, it's just a la land. Like there's no real thing, right? It's just what people are paying for it is what it's valued. It's as speculative can be. And in my opinion, if you're basing it off of speculation, there's no better speculation to base it off of than real world recognition. And people know what Bitcoin is. And therefore, I feel like as far as those go over time, whenever Bitcoin turns into something, it'll do it. Do you guys know I made an NFT once? Let me see if I can find it. I don't even know if you can find it anymore. I don't even remember. I don't even remember where it is. Does it? I only made one of them. So, you know, guys, if you want to get in on a really good investment, shoot, I don't even know where it is at this point. I don't even know how you would find it. Oh, well. Well, there's a fun Easter egg for you guys if you ever find my one single NFT that I made. It's out there. That's hilarious. Hasn't it gone down because people said that if they knew the creator of Bitcoin, it would instantly fall to zero? Yeah, but I mean, speculative, right? I mean, it's as speculative as what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm right, by the way, too. I'm saying like this is like if you were in a room of dartboards and you had a dart and a blindfold and you just threw it, if you hit the bullseye, congratulations. But like you don't have an actual skill. You're not like actually figuring it out. We're all just kind of throwing dartboards in the dark, trying to see what hits and what's right. It's not like buying oil on a Friday when the government or the president pops off about things are going to get better, and then it goes down, and then you buy it because on Monday, the alleged market manipulation that the government is doing right now is going to go back up again, which is kind of what happens every week, right? We're just kind of doing this every single week. That is something you could invest in because it's kind of sound investing at this point. I mean, it's happened like over the past 4 to 6 weeks, I believe. This is more like, I just think Bitcoin's going to do well because eventually it'll go up. I mean, eventually we're going to go to the abstracted cryptocurrency or some version of a cryptocurrency. I just feel like Bitcoin is like marketed too well. It's too universal. Even my parents, can I tell you guys, here's why I know it's going to do well. Personally, I'm not convincing you. I'm saying for me, because my mom and dad got scammed. They're like 80. They got scammed like 2 years ago on a Bitcoin scam. And they were driving into a town, the local town, to dump like money, retirement money, into a crypto Bitcoin ATM. Not a Solana, not an Ethereum, not Hawk coin, Bitcoin. And so I feel like if my parents know what Bitcoin is, you can probably be pretty assured that if I was to make an investment, Bitcoin's probably going to still go up at some point in the future. Oh my God, Raymond, it was terrible. It was terrible. And I'm pretty sure my dad was telling stories because he kind of, I think my dad was so embarrassed that he blamed it on my mom or got my mom to blame herself so that when we had to help, he didn't have to deal with it because I had to like literally go down and like lock up their credit cards and like send out all these, dude, it was a whole thing. I was there for like 3 days fixing all this mess. And I'm pretty sure my dad was the one who got scammed. I'm almost positive. And it was one of those, hey, invest in Bitcoin, you're going to make a lot of money. And that's when I invested into Tylenol. Stock market tips from the Deadly Dex developer. That's what y'all come here for, is my Bitcoin knowledge, right? No, I don't. I'm pretty sure it was not a call scammer. I'm pretty sure it was the old, you get an email and they say, make money off of this Bitcoin. We will double your money. And then you put a little money in and then they give you your money back, or at least they tell you you've doubled your money. And then they tell you, hey, if you just put in this larger amount, we're closing another round and then you'll get triple this time. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that scam, but there's like a big boomer scam where like they put in like $500 and then they're like, oh, well, you got 1,000. And then they're like, oh, can I take my money out? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they literally give them $1,000 back. And then they tell them, oh, okay, we have a new investment and this one's going to be bigger than the last one. But it's a minimum buy-in of $20,000 and you have to do it in the next 2 days. And then that's how they get them, because they feel like, well, I mean, I already got money back. Like, this is not a scam. How could this be a scam? But really, that's them just putting the scam money that they've collected back into the pockets of the boomers to get more money to come back out. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened with my dad. My dad, like, sad to say, my dad is quite gullible when it comes to anybody telling him that he could make a lot of money, which is a bummer. I blame Gmail. That email should have went into spam or flagged. Yeah, right? Totally. My dad even last year, he was like telling everyone that he got an email from Elon Musk when Doge was going on, that he was going to join the Doge committee. Like, he was telling everyone. And my dad's oh God. I mean, he's not a MAGA, but he is a Republican. And like, it was, dude, it was like everyone just had to keep telling him like, Dad, that's a scam. And he's like, no, it's not. I got the email. And we're like, yikes. Oh God. All right. Yes, you got an email. Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You got an email. That's the level that we're dealing with when we have to do fact sniffing. Is I got an email. Boomers be like, I got an email, and you're like, oh, okay, great. Like, anyway. All right. Let's do this exercise. I'm going to try and do this because I want to figure out these bleeding tokens. All right. So let's go. 1. Single bleed token on creature is a status effect. So let's just say bleeding is a single event. You can't stack it. It's non-stackable. You can only hit one of them. Single bleed token on a creature is a status effect, cannot stack. Things under this that could be the creature could have a bleed amount on them that tells player how much damage over time. So we could do that, right? We could do that. We could also, I don't know if I should try and organize these yet. We could do that. So the way this would work is you hit, Eris hits the undead guard. The undead guard is bleeding. We put the token on it, and maybe somewhere up here in the corner, there's like a little blood droplet that says like a 1, which means once that creature is bleeding, you do 1 damage every turn. Things I like about this is that it means that the status effect could power up over time. Meaning like instead of it being like it does 1 damage, bleed does 1 damage for all creatures, that's a problem because then the higher the health points of the creature, the lower percentage of damage this becomes and like the less effective it actually is, which is not fun. That's not good. So this could be an interesting thing where, okay, Undead Guard has 7 health and it gets 2 bleeding damage or 1 bleeding damage once it's bleeding. Okay, so that could be interesting. One of the problems with this is that once a creature is bleeding, attacks that cause bleeding are no longer necessary. Can the villains stop themselves from bleeding? That's a good question. Let's put that up here. Can you stop bleeding? Yes, I think we do. I'm going to put down here for right now, I think with a heal. Because I think that's how it works on the players as well. If the players are bleeding and someone heals them, you remove the bleeding effect. I do like that cause bleeding. Okay, so let's do pluses for things that are good. Creature could have, that's a plus. A minus is once a creature is bleeding, attacks that cause bleeding are no longer relevant. Or they're less relevant. Less useful. This could be cool. Here they can. Master Yoda, can you stop the bleeding? Here they can. Once a creature is bleeding, attacks that cause bleeding are less useful. Okay. Okay. This would probably fall into a category, I'm trying to play it through in my mind, but this would probably fall into a category where weapons that cause bleeding or an attack that causes bleeding, like what use is that if you hit them when they're bleeding and then they bleed again? Does that make sense? The other nice thing about this that we'll put in here is attacks that require bleeding or benefit from bleeding. So So this could be a thing that's like, if, you know, down here, if Eris has another attack here that says like jugular stab, and it basically says do 1 damage. If creature is bleeding, do 3 damage. Okay, like, sure. Now they're bleeding, you do the 3 damage. That's cool. That could be pretty fun. He was meant to appeal to children, but he appealed to everyone. Yeah, and then he comes out with like a facelift as Baby Grogu, right? Okay, attacks that require bleeding or benefit from bleeding. That's pretty cool. This is really the only downside to this one. And that is that you can only cause bleeding once. Yeah, I hope so too. I wonder if that movie's gonna be good. I hope The Mandalorian's gonna be a good movie. I kind of really am not, like, I didn't feel this way even a year ago. Definitely not 2 years ago, but the Disney stuff has really been a yikes for me. Like, it's gotten to a point where I'm almost like starting to avoid it. It's just kind of like really not great stuff. Once a creature is bleeding, attacks that cause bleeding are less useful. Guys, this is going to sound strange, but I know it's going to make a whole list of stuff, but I really feel like maybe not. I know, right? George Lucas, please take over Star Wars again. You know what I really want? This sounds crazy. I don't want any legacy IP anymore. I want something, this sounds so like over asking, right? But it's like, I'm kind of like, can we just get like something that's modern, that is really exciting, amazing, and awesome? Like, where are the other George Lucases, you know, or like Quentin Tarantino's, or like even somewhat, I wouldn't say Steven Spielberg, because he's kind of been a one-off. He does like one thing and then that's it, but it is really good. Like, you know, Close Encounters of the Third Kind and stuff like that. But just where's like the really great new IPs, you know? I feel like anime probably has the lock on that at this point. Anime is probably where all of that comes from, like the storytelling, the character creations and designs and the worlds and stuff like that. But like, where is that in American culture? I don't see it anymore, you know? Like Avatar? Right? I think this could be it though. Single bleed token on creature is a status effect. Doesn't stack. Creature could have a bleed amount that tells the player how much damage over time. And once a creature is bleeding, attacks that cause bleeding are less useful. Jon Favreau made it? Wow. I didn't know that. I wasn't sure about that. That's pretty exciting, actually. Attacks that require bleeding or benefit from bleeding. Okay, we're going to try this because you know what? This actually, after talking it through, seems like it could be the way forward. So what do we do here? This is interesting setup, because how would bleeding work on Seekers? Maybe if there isn't any bleeding token, they can't bleed. Oh, wow. Okay. That's been a problem from the get-go. How do you say that an undead guard is going to bleed when it's a skeleton, or Seekers when they're a mob? Okay. I like that. Let's try a little something something. This might be I don't want to jinx myself, but is this a breakthrough? Am I experiencing a breakthrough right now? God, please tell me this is a breakthrough. He did. He did. It's funny you say that about Iron Man. I want to go back and watch the original Iron Man again. You think it is? You think it's a breakthrough? This is interesting, because now we could have, just building out how this currently works, but we might just have a little breakthrough here. This would be pretty exciting if this actually makes sense. So we go ahead here and we're gonna just remove this. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to take this. And the idea here being that we drop this down, put it over here. Maybe. I do think it's a good idea to have it like here-ish. Right? Something like that. Could be nice. Right next to the shield. If you remember, we came up with that, which was the armor, so that they actually have armor, which this kind of makes sense. And then this guy has a little thing going on here, which is this. I'm just going to do a little test here. And he's a 6. So let's say if he's bleeding, that does 1 damage over time. I'm just going to try it out. Put that here. And then let's go ahead. I'm still not, again, I know this font is a little hard to read. So, you know, eventually I'll have to fix this. But it could be very much like this. Wow, that's not bad. It's not bad. Like, it's really not. What do we think? What do you think, Raymond? I like this. I'm feeling this. This feels like it's making sense. Like, a lot of the problems that I've had with bleeding is I just felt like I couldn't control it in the system well enough to actually make a mechanic that wouldn't break one way or the other, which basically means it'd either be too controlled where you just weren't able to actually do like interesting things with it or do damage over time that would scale, or then the other option was you could just do too much bleed tokens, just bleed tokens everywhere, and you're just like, okay, like give it a rest. Like, we got it, bleed tokens, you know. Let's give this a try. Armor test. Bleed test. Then we come over here and we'll do our little fun thing that we always do, which is we go into the Imgur and we gotta upload a new thing. See if we can upload this guy. Cards. Here it is. Copy image address. Let's lower this down and let me see if we grab this guy. Let's go ahead and find this guy, flip him, and I believe we can actually just fix this right here. Is that right? Ooh, interesting. Okay. I mean, this is not finished UI, of course, but oh, I didn't know there were 5 of those guys in there. And there's only 3 of those. There's 3 of those. Okay, we might have to come back and take a look at that, but that's okay. Let me grab these guys, flip them. Oh, we only had... Interesting. We only had 1 with the actual shield variant. So that's probably why there were 5 of them. So we just go ahead and get rid of these guys. And then duplicate this guy. Maybe 1, 2, 4 more times. So this is kind of cool. So now what we have is the Yu-Gi-Oh backgrounds. You mean for this stuff down here, for these guys? I definitely feel like the backgrounds, yeah. I agree, Raymond. I really think that these guys need backgrounds and weapons need backgrounds. I do feel that way. Okay, so now though, this is what's interesting is you can't, Eris can't cause bleeding on the undead guard because it's a skeleton and there's no bleeding. And Seekers, she can't cause bleeding on the Seekers either. So the only one she can cause bleeding to would be the deranged guard. And then once you put it on, it will do 1 damage over time, which is really, that's okay. Okay. Interesting. Then what we do, right? That's actually really bothered me, Raymond. I can't even tell you how much that's bothered me while working on this, was like with the bleeding and just feeling like, okay, so I guess you could just make anybody bleed. But then it's like, no, you really can't though. Like it doesn't work like that. I mean, that's not how it would work in real life with real skeletons. I mean, you could argue that there's like blood in the marrow, but that would depend on how long it was around. And if it's been around for a long time, it could be like literally petrified. So this makes a lot of sense to me because now it's a 6 damage. It has a shield, which I forget exactly how that works, but we can figure it out. And then, oh, I do remember now. The shield means it takes 1 damage off when you hit it. So if I hit it with a physical attack, it actually negates it by 1. Okay. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere with this. This is coming together. Oh, wow. That also means that these heroes would now need to have a bleed amount so that when their status effect happens, that they're actually bleeding out. Okay. Okay, that's fair though. I think that's fine. Yeah, that's fine for me. I think that's totally cool. Because Bucket can't bleed. Bucket can't bleed. That's actually pretty beautiful. Wow. Interesting. Bucket can't bleed. Okay. This is working. This is working. So that means that many of these cards will not have bleeding. He doesn't have a soul. He's just a robot. He's just a robo. He's a sentient robo guy. I think he's got like, he's been magic imbued. He's supposed to be like a training dummy who's had a spell put on him. Okay, so coming back to this, is this really going to be the breakthrough that I think it might be? We might be there. We might just be there. So On a success, do 1 damage. If 1 or 2, add 1 bleed token. If crit, add 2 bleed. Okay. We're going to change this up. On a success, creature is now bleeding. If 1 or 2, do 1 damage. If crit, do 2 damage. Okay, so this weapon will cause bleeding when you use it. Makes sense. Yeah, he is Blade Runner vibes. Bro, did you see my shirt? Speaking of, I love this shirt so much. It's one of my favorites. I love wearing shirts that reference popular things that I love, like Blade Runner. This is a scene from Blade Runner, in case you didn't know, from the original Blade Runner. And it's so cool because I love it so much, because when I wear it around, it just looks cool. It looks like something that, like, you know, whatever. I'm walking around in New York, people wear stuff that looks just like this. But what was so great is every once in a while, someone recognizes it and they know where it's from. And it's like, I get to have these really awesome conversations with them. So like a great example of it is I was wearing this to someone's birthday, and we were all eating Korean barbecue. We're all hanging out, and this guy is like across the table from me. I never met him before. We're like hanging out, and it was the best thing ever, dude. It makes this whole shirt worth like wearing. I love it so much. I love this style of stuff where you don't like blast out to the world that you like something. It's only for the people who know about it. So this guy, I'm eating, we're hanging out, we're talking, what do you do? All this kind of stuff. And then he looks at me and he goes, so did you like the second one? And I was like, looking at him, and I was like, it was hitting me. I was like, he's talking about my shirt, right? He's talking about Blade Runner, right? And he's like, and he was looking at me, and I was like, okay, so like my opinion of it is it was a really good movie. It was an amazing sequel, but I still don't consider it as canon in the Blade Runner universe. That's just me personally. And he looked at me and he goes, that's fair, man. That's fair. I totally see where you're coming from. I was like, he gets it. This is awesome. This is so great. Like, wear a shirt that's like a secret thing for people who know about it. So then, you know, you're just like connecting, and it was great. It was great. That just happened to me like 3 weeks ago when I was wearing the shirt. So I love it. But I've been trying to find a lot of stuff like that. Like I have a Akira shirt. Akira shirts are really hard because people don't make a lot of Akira shirts, and then when they do make them, they're always just the motorcycle or like Japanese writing or all this stuff. But I'll wear it. Maybe tomorrow I'll wear it if it's hanging up in my closet, if it's clean. But I love this Akira shirt. It's so good. It's just a red shirt, and it has the stickers from Canada's bike. It's so great. I got to get a bigger one. It's a little tight. I want to get a bigger one, but yeah, no one's come up to me on that one yet though. So I don't know if it's too obscure even for Akira fans, but no one's come up to me and been like, yeah, that's what's up. You only watched the second Ryan Gosling one. Oh my God. I bet you won't like the first one then. I bet you'll think the opposite of what I think, where you'll be like, okay, the second one is canon, but the first one is not. Because that's just how it is. It's like the first one, you know, like the first one you were exposed to. But the first one is one of my all-time top favorite 5 movies forever and ever and ever and ever. Like my top 5 movies, I think, are something like, and in no particular order, is like Akira, Aliens, Blade Runner, shoot, do I even have 2 more after that? I'd have to think about it. There's a lot of runner-ups, but Yeah, but those three are exceptional movies. Blade Runner, the first one, and it's such Blade Runner, the first one is so fascinating because of how it was made. Like they couldn't, I forget what happened, but there was a point where the budget got into a disagreement, like the movie studio got into a disagreement. And so the movie, the first one, where they made the whole cyberpunk like vibe that we still to this day are like riding off of with cyberpunk and all this stuff. Like the great grandfather of that look was Blade Runner. And the whole reason it ended up being so rich and real was because in the middle of getting ready to shoot the movie, there was a budget dispute. And so the guys who were building the set, they were like almost done. And then the budget dispute started and they didn't know what to do because they needed those guys to stay on for shooting the movie, of course, but the movie wasn't starting. So while they had a budget dispute, they kept all the guys on for something like 3 to 6 months in addition to what they had already bought. So they just like, while the budget dispute was going on, they just let those guys build. They just kept building and building and building and building, like air conditioners on the outside, vents, ducts, everything, because they didn't know what else to do. And so it's unbelievable because like, I don't know that you would ever get a movie like this that defined like a look and a feel, and then also got an almost unlimited blank check to just keep making, like past what they were told to make for an extended period of time. I feel like that's why the original Blade Runner still stands up to this day, that when you look at it, you're just like, every scene, you're like, damn, like, well, damn. I mean, sure, it's from the 1980s, but like, it's just richer than like any other movie that has a set that is like not of this world, you know? Anyway, you know me, I can procrastinate all day, like the best of them. Blade Runner is definitely one of those things I could talk about forever and ever and ever. I love that movie so much. Such a great movie. Oh my God. Okay, what were we doing? We're trying to finish up this card. On success, creature is now bleeding with damage. Nope, it's not bleeding with damage. Creature is now bleeding. If 1 or 2, do 1 damage. If crit, do 2 damage. Okay. Actually, I'm going to reverse these because I think that doesn't read correctly. I think it's going to be if blah, 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 blah. On success, creature is now bleeding. Let's keep that there. And then this one is going to be advantage. Well, we're just calling it advantage, but we'll make it something else. And it's going to require bleeding. So let's just take this guy and put it in the corner, because currently that's a little bit of how I have it designed, where it does tell you what you'd have to do. This is a little hard to read, so I'm going to redo this again. Raymond, thanks for hanging out, man. It's so crazy to still be hanging with you with all these years gone by, dude. It's really, I really appreciate it, man. When I'm like, when there's 1 million followers up in here, Raymond, you'll still be the #1, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that'll happen someday. Hey, crazier things have happened, right? Just keep chipping away at it. Just keep chipping away. Okay, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it down here. All right, so when a creature is now bleeding, you can then do advantage, which whatever that means, we don't care what it's called. But here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna say if the creature's bleeding, you can do this. Now, what I don't wanna do is make it that once they're bleeding, it's like a perfect thing. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it, I'm like so close to. Do we make it where it's on a crit on advantage? Okay, let's just write out some stuff. Let's just start simple. What? How did that happen? Okay. If 1 or 2 do bleed, this is interesting. Oh, I like where this is going already. Do creatures bleed damage? If crit, do creatures bleed damage twice? That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. That's kind of fun. Yeah, it is crazy how creativity comes out the most when you're limited. Yeah, I agree. This is kind of cool. You do the slice, which is a regular attack, and you can do 1 damage. If crit, do 2 damage. On success, creature is now bleeding. And then on advantage, if they are bleeding, you can, on a 1 or 2, do the creature's bleed damage. And if crit, do the creature's bleed damage twice. This is interesting because this doesn't work on these two. So Eris is actually not useful. And this was the problem that I had with this initially with the bleeding, was that it was just so, it was so powerful. Like it could just be on any creature. There was no stopping it. It either does damage or it stacks uncontrollably, or if it doesn't do that, it's limited and it doesn't scale well with power over time. And now this is so interesting because even if I have slice and I'm using slice, I can only do 1 damage or 2 damage, which still is pretty comparable with the other heroes. But maybe I have to hit the Seeker to knock it out, which means I'm not going to be able to create bleeding on the deranged guard. I still think there's a little bit of, like, as soon as you hit any of them with slice, they're now bleeding. I think that's probably too powerful. But I hesitate to make, well, I don't know. What do we think? Let's try it. On crit, let's make it a crit. Do 2 damage and creature is now bleeding. So that could make bleeding special. Yeah, because I think if you just hit any time and you cause bleeding, meh, right? You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, like, all right. So I just hit and I cause bleeding. Again, there's like nothing exciting there. But the only thing with this is I really don't want bleeding to be so hard to get that it doesn't happen very often. So we're gonna have to work on that. Swords should have cool slice effect in the art, or one of them fire. Yes. What? This isn't in the UK. What? In it? What? No, it's not in the UK. What? The world? Is the world in the UK? If that's the question, no, it's in its own world. It's in a world of its own. Okay, I'm gonna upload to Imgur. This, guys, this could be. Did it really solve this thing? No way. No way. Did we really solve it? No way. Wow. Creature is now bleeding. But advantage you can do if 1 or 2 do creatures bleed damage. If crit, do creatures bleed damage twice, which is pretty cool. That's basically the same as these on this guy, so you don't really get a benefit there. You don't really get a benefit. That's like doing 1 or 2 damage. So if a creature only has 1 bleed, then there's no real benefit to this yet. Probably would change this card to one thing here, just so we don't get power creep, which is if crit, do creatures bleed damage +1. I don't think it should be a multiple, because that means this sword can be used like for the entire game basically, because the power will scale up. We don't want that to happen. We want it to feel like, you know, this is a good blade, but eventually you're going to want to upgrade. So let's just go ahead and do that. Make that one little change here. Import that. Okay. Okay, so then we get the same thing. If they had 2, you would do 2 damage, but then you would do 3 on a crit. Okay, I could live with that. I can live with all that. I mean, it's less rare in the UK to get shanked than this game. Oh. you were doing a UK accent through chat. This isn't the UK, in it. Now I got it. Yeah, right. Not everybody gets shanked. Spot a T. Okay. Wow, not bad. This is fun. Okay, and then we could fix this card. Creature must be bleeding. Okay, we could fix that by putting the blood token in the corner. Do bleed damage. I'm seeing a pattern here, right? We can use the bleed damage as a way of damaging the creature, which is interesting. It's interesting. I'm not sure if it's going to be a long-lasting idea, but it is interesting. Let's go in here. Creature must be bleeding. Do 1 damage per token, then flip this card. Okay, we're going to change that, because now what's going to happen is we're going to come back here. We're going to come back here, and we're going to grab this. Let's grab this, drop this in here. Give me the doubloons, you blackguard. Okay, now we can change this. I wonder where Furry is. Usually Furry pops in about this time. Wawa, right? All hail Wawa. I love when Creepersaur, was it Creepersaur, said, it's been 0 days since a reference to Wawa. I thought that was classic. That's why I love that. That's why I love you guys. You guys got the jokes. Okay, this is going to be do creatures bleed damage +1, comma, and flip this card. This is great because now you need to have the bleeding in the corner. We know that to be true. It's as true as it ever was. That means you can't actually use this on a skeleton or an undead creature. Ugh. Message retracted. Did you do that? Is there like an overall story behind all the fighting? Like the people you are fighting are innocent people cursed by some boss figure and you really feel like the bad guy now? There is, oh my God, there's an extensive lore in this game. That's all I can really say. Like over spring break, James and I met twice and not only is James like a really fascinating, James has a really fascinating world building process based on art history. That's all, which blew me away. He rolled up here and he was like, I have a little presentation. I've been coming up with some ideas, and proceeded to go through like a 60 slide deck that he prepared about the multiple generations of the land and how they would all coalesce into this larger story. There's a massive story behind this game. The game is meant to be a 3-part trilogy. So this is the first book almost. It's like a book, but not a book, right? It's a game. And so this game is meant to be the very beginning of a much larger story that unfolds once you beat the game. There's basically like a artifact that's revealed that leads to a much bigger storyline. And then the second game is, of course, the conflict of dealing with that. And then the third one is hopefully the resolve. The ultimate goal here is that maybe, I don't know how you would work it, but we still have to think it through. But the idea was that eventually you could have all 3 games and you could take a team of 3 and you could play through all 3 games with just that singular team. I don't know if that would work, but dang, if there's that much lore, you might be good at a GTA RP server. I mean, do you remember the SMP? That was rich, man. That SMP was wild. I miss my SMP so much. Those were good times. I really like that. Do you remember the, what was it? The combat arena? What was it? No, it was the lawyers, and you had to hire lawyers. And they had to fight to win your court case. Oh my God. That's like the best kept content secret, in my opinion. Like, I just didn't know how to share that with the world and put that up there and like document it. Damn, that SMP was hilarious. Oh my God, that was so funny. You're doing a survival server soon with a furniture mod? That sounds fun. Okay, what do we have left here? We did both of these. When you flip it, when this hero would be attacked, this creature takes damage and does 1 damage back. Now, here's the problem with a familiar. I'm not even going to try and solve it right now. Actually, I'm going to stop where I'm at. I think I'm going to stop where I'm at because this is pretty good. Place this card in front of a hero. When a creature attacks, do 2 damage. I think with this, what you could do is you could place... I think I see how we can fix this. This caltrops, I'm getting like ideas. I'm getting like really a lot of ideas right now. But I think I know how to fix the caltrops suddenly. I don't know why, but I feel like I have an idea on how to fix this card to make it really interesting. Where's the caltrops card? There it is. It's simple. You roll and then place damage tokens in front of a hero. That's it. And you roll to see how many damage tokens you're allowed to place in front of them. So you're kind of like throwing them and hopefully you hit it. Let's try it. Okay, so roll if roll place damage tokens place damage tokens equal to the number above any hero. When attacked, remove and place on creature. Chicken legs do 1,000 damage. They do look like chicken feet. They do. We just change it to chicken feet. Roll. Place damage tokens equal. Place damage tokens equal to the number above any hero. When attacked, place on creature. We'll just do place damage tokens equal to the roll. Above any hero. When attacked, place on creature. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I think I have this one kind of solved. Oh, and then exhaust. We said one. I still don't know how exactly to do this, but you can only use it once per encounter. We'll figure out how to say that. Yeah, I think this is coming along. Oh my god, this would be what a gift on my birthday week to finally have Bleeding and Eris both solved. Oh my god, is this really happening? You guys have no idea. This like weighs on me. Okay, so the way you do this is this is great because you don't have to place it in front of a hero anymore. And what you do is you place damage tokens equal to the roll above any hero. When attacked, place on creature, and you can only do it once. So what would happen here is if I'm going to use the caltrops, I roll, I got a 2, I take 2 damage tokens, and I can place them over any hero. So I could put them right here above the hero. And then once Lady Lyria gets attacked, you instantly do the damage to the creature, which could kill it. Of course, we'll have to write rules in for this where it like gets to finish its attack first, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe this actually happens before the attack, which would probably make sense because you could actually save them from attacking. But that would be pretty cool, like to have a little trap area where you can put stuff. That kind of works, guys. It's like happening. We fixed this card, at least the top of it. We still have to fix this part of it and figure out exactly what this means so that it's useful. This one we kind of fixed. This makes sense. The bleeding now makes sense because now the deranged guard bleeds for 1 if he's bleeding, and then the undead guard does not because they're undead. And then the only ones that we have left are fixing this card and the shadow cloak. When hero shrouded, cannot be targeted, status damage, and attacks break shroud. When exiting shroud, gain +1 to the next attack roll, which is kind of cool because you could, I think you would still use this first. This one you wouldn't, right? This one you wouldn't use first. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the caltrops should be reused again. I don't think you should get to use them on every turn. I think that's something that I did one time, and I think I got to relax on the use it once per encounter because it makes it feel like you should just then use it every encounter. And I think it dilutes it. I'd much rather have there be multiples of them rather than, so you actually have a little pocket full of them. I'm gonna try this. There's 3 of them. and you put damage tokens on them when you use them. That could be interesting. So it's one card. I'm like having some actual really interesting like new developments on the game of like stuff that you could do. Okay, so we grab this. And we're going to go in here and we're going to drop this one in. And so what's going to happen now is you can use this. You don't have to exhaust it anymore. But when you do use it, I think you put something like one of these, or maybe you put one of these on it. And once you've amassed 3 of them, so I have one more usage. So you could use them all 3 like in one battle. But then once you use all 3, they're gone. Yeah, basically damage tokens are just -1, so you could just use those as like trap tokens. And I could even make a little space up here for like a trap. It could say like trap and like have a little spot where you just put trap stuff up here and then it does it. This kind of works though. Like you get to use it 3 times, which we don't have. We don't have a card for that, which means we'll have to design a little bit of a UI around it, but I'm okay with that. And then the Shadow Cloak, you get a +1, which would impact this card because you could actually get a +1 to this. But what's to stop you from just turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off? What's to stop you? Okay, we did have a previous card that had a stat check. Is this the one we did the stat check with? Spin Slash? Was that the one? Where you had to roll and then you have to get above a 4 to use it. I feel like that was with that card. That was the stat block one that we were basically saying, if you want to do this, you have to roll. And the only problem with it was that you then had to roll again for damage, I think. That was the problem with this whole thing. And so we said it would be the numbers. I'm just recalling it, but I think it was something to the effect of, if I wanted to do Spin Slash, 1 damage to all creatures, I have to get a 4 or better on my speed. And she has a 2, but I would need to roll it. And I got 2. That's right. And then you would find out the damage, which is I rolled a 2. Interesting. Oh, the cloak flames up when you use it too much. What? Wow. Whoa. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah. How? That's really cool. What does it can cause? Yeah, you gotta be put out. They gotta put you out. Yeah. That's interesting. If you use it too long, I think it would not be fire, but it might be some kind of debuff where if you use it, you get a debuff. Shadow Cloak. I was going to actually just say you roll to go into the Shadow Cloak. Like you have to roll. It's not just a free thing. You have to roll to hide in the shadows. But would that make sense? You have to roll to see if the Shadow Cloak works. But I feel like rolling could be good because the fact that you can just do it whenever you want is kind of the problem a little bit, but then maybe it's not. Hero is shrouded, cannot be targeted. I like this idea though. Like, yeah, where you go into the shadow cloak and then something happens to you. You take like maybe 1 damage per turn. I don't know. I don't want to punish the player for using it. No, I don't think punishing them for using it is the right direction. I think it's the last thing to go with this is like, maybe it's just something that isn't always guaranteed. Use the clock timer. That's interesting. Like it has to recharge. I'm thinking about what if it's a blood cloak and the way it works is when you hit a creature who is bleeding, you can add a blood token to the blood cloak and you can now we're double dipping where we're saying like this thing needs, like we have a requirement already on here, which means the creature needs to have it as opposed to the card. I know, right? Isn't that, I mean, you could turn it. You could always do the thing where you're like, that's 1 turn, then 2 turns, then 3 turns, then 4, and then you get it back. We could do a thing where I've not done this before, but we could do a thing where you use it and then upon being done with it, you put a timer on it. And it has to go all the way around. So, you know, once her turn concludes, you move it to 2, then you move it to 3. On the next turn, then you move it to 4, and even in between battles, like it just doesn't recharge, or maybe at the end of a battle it recharges. That could be interesting to have a clock token. I mean, we already have a clock token, so it'd be interesting to have one that you could actually use. Huh. Maybe? Maybe? We know this stays the same. When exiting Shroud, gain a +1 to the next attack. And we know that when they're in Shroud, they can't be targeted. The question is how it triggers. What if we do something simple? What if we say, after you hit a creature, after hitting a creature with bleed, you can turn it. So it's like this blood cloak, and you have to hit a creature that is bleeding, and then that bleeding, obviously, the blood gets on the cloak, and the cloak is like, yeah, I'm like charged up. How would you keep track of that though? Well, I guess it makes sense. You can only use it on a turn where you hit something with bleeding. Well, let's try it. I'm not opposed to that. That's curious. I could see that working, where we take this and we say fade into darkness. Hero is shrouded, cannot be targeted. Status damage. And then we would just add this in here. We'd put it in here. So you need to have basically this, you have to hit someone with bleeding. I'm not going to rename it yet. Hero shrouded, cannot be targeted. Yeah, but you would do this every single time. You would do this every single time, right? I don't know, would you? To get the +1? I don't know. This card constantly comes up as like problematic as a starter card. Maybe it's her ability? We've tried this before, though. I love this idea of her not being targeted. It's so interesting. But I just feel like the card itself is just so tricky. If you roll low, it does nothing and takes damage. Oh, Furry's here. What's up, Furry? I was just saying, where's Furry? Furry's usually here by now. We're like almost there with this character, though. There's some really cool stuff going on here. On a successful attack, place bleed on any card. Well, we're definitely getting rid of that, right? You fell asleep twice for 2 hours. Good. I'm glad you're sleeping. That's good. You should get rest. Everybody needs some good sleep these days. Shadow Cloak. How would this work? Shadow Cloak is... maybe part of it is the Shadow Cloak has to be an attack roll. Like you actually take an action to do it. You don't just turn it on. You actually have to do it. Maybe? Oh, I'm so excited to try and finish the rest of this character. I feel like we just have to do an ability and this card. This one I can fix. This is a bigger problem. I'm not worried about fixing the Blood Pixie. The Blood Pixie kind of works already. Just we don't know how it can attack. That's the only thing we don't know, right? Which is like totally fine by me. That doesn't bother me at all. But I feel like if I can figure out this Shadow Cloak, we got Caltrops to work, which is like so cool. That was a really cool card, and I knew there was a way to get it to work. I wasn't sure how. And then this Assassin's Blade is like feeling pretty good. We haven't played with it, but it feels pretty good. And so I feel like just giving the hero ability and fixing this Shadow Cloak, which maybe we just get rid of it in favor of like something else. Because if they can hide at any time, then they'll do it all the time. And we can't let them do it all the time. We could do it when they hit a bleeding hero or a bleeding character. Sorry, a bleeding creature. I think part of the problem with this is that you get to both attack and hide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I think the part of the problem is that you have to roll to make sure that it works. And by works, it just means you just have to make sure you don't fail. So on success, hero is shrouded, cannot be targeted. Status damage and attacks break shroud. And you can do this anytime you want, but you're not going to be able to attack. And that might actually do it. This might actually fix it. Because then you're not attacking. You're just going into the shadows and hiding. And you have to exit. I think you have to exit on the next turn. That's going to be the thing. We'll figure out how to make that like symbolic. But that basically means all we really need to do is go back here and grab this guy. Right? And then we come back over here and we put this on. I think this simple change might actually make this card less spammy because you're not going to roll every time. We're going to put here something like must. I don't know how we're going to do this, but must do on next. I don't know. We're going to say this. I'm not worried about it. We'll figure it out later. But I do feel like we'll put this on here if this is your fade into darkness, you know, it'll say something like you must do from the shadows on the next turn. Something like this. All right. So you take a turn to actually hide. Maybe, I don't know, maybe. I'm still not fully convinced, but I do think it's better. It's better than what was here already. All right, after this, I'm gonna hop off because I gotta eat something. I'm like so hungry and I don't even know what I'm gonna eat for lunch. You guys know what you're gonna eat for lunch? Kathy Sue made me a lunch, but I forgot it at home, sadly. Okay, so the idea now is you can hide. You just have to roll for it. So you roll, you get it, you're good. And now Eris is not attackable for a turn, but you also don't get to attack. And then on the next turn, you get a +1 to the next attack roll. So now I could go ahead and do my caltrops, and whatever the number is, I would get a +1. So if I rolled it and I got a 2, now I got 3, which would be pretty cool, right? You could do it that way, or you could do on the advantage, if 1 or 2 do creatures bleed damage, if crit do creatures bleed damage +1. So this would turn into a crit, which would mean that this guy would get 2 damage, which isn't that great, but it is what it is. It will get bigger as the time goes on. But that would do 2 damage, which again is like the same as this one. Mm. I'm going to go back on this card real quick because I think that this card is not doing it. I think the fact that these two can effectively be the same is not helpful. So we're going to do on success, do 1 damage. If crit, creature is now bleeding. Simple. I just feel like that might not play out the way I think it is, where you're just kind of looking at the two of them and going like, what's the difference? Right? Like, and we don't definitely, you guys know I hate that. I don't want that to happen. So let's go ahead and back in here and then we'll change this one up. On success, do 1 damage. If crit, creature is now bleeding. If 1 or 2, do creatures bleed damage. If crit, do creatures bleed damage +1. You can also do the caltrops. This is kind of the same thing you're going to do over and over again, but you're trying to get a crit on the bleeding. Okay. And then you can roll, instead of doing 1 damage, you can roll to hide. I don't think this one either. And let's go. I'm going to keep tweaking this one. I think by the time you get to advantage and you do the creature's bleed damage, oh, that's still 1. You roll a 1 or a 2 and it does 1. It does 1 creature's bleed damage. That's just a 1 on that guy. If crit, creature is now bleeding. So you did 1 damage. Let's say you crit, which is a 1 in 6 chance, which means it's not going to happen that often. They're now bleeding. Now you would have to actually do another crit to even get past on this guy more than 1 damage. Damn. Okay, it's not happening. On success, do 1 damage. If crit, creature is now bleeding. Let's come back here and let's take a look at this and let's do on success. I'm going to undo what I did here. I think I need to go back and fix this. If 1 or 2, do 1 damage. If crit, do 2 damage. On success, creature is now bleeding. We're going to go back to this old thing. If 1 or 2, do 1 damage. If crit, do 2 damage. So now you can do up to 2 damage with this. No matter what happens, you're going to make them bleed, which I keep going back and forth on this, but I think, okay, so as long as you hit, you cause them to bleed. Advantage. If you drew a 1 or 2 using this and they're bleeding, you can only hit them with bleeding with advantage. So you hit once, great. Let's say you do 1 damage. Now, if 1 or 2 do creatures bleed damage, that would be 1 on this guy. If crit, do creatures bleed damage +1. So it's the same amount of damage. Hmm. I guess we could just give this. Bleed damage +1. If crit, do creatures bleed damage +2. So you're getting a lot more damage once they're bleeding. But then I feel like now you're never going to use this one. Which I guess that's okay. Right? Because you can use this on creatures that don't bleed. Okay. Okay. I think that's much better. Oh my god, there's been 15 blood. There's been 15 assassin blades of variations. Oh my god, I can't wait to... I should do a video on just this card alone. Okay. Now let's take a look at it again. On success, creature is now bleeding. So you almost always make them bleed unless you miss. If 1 or 2 do 1 damage, if crit do 2 damage. Okay. Advantage, once they're bleeding, I can do this attack, which is if 1 or 2 do creatures bleed damage +1, if crit do creatures bleed damage +2. So on this guy, that would mean a 2 or a 3. That checks out. That makes a lot of sense. And then if I was fighting this guy, I can't make them bleed, so I can really only do 1 or 2 damage. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Some interesting choices going on there. Okay. Deadly Dex is very British. So British. This card, do creatures bleed damage +1 and flip this card. Okay. So that's the 2 damage on that guy. And then you flip it. Caltrops I like. This is good. This is a good block right here. We got 3 cards. I want to just finish this though. Or you can choose to hide in the shadows at any time. You have to roll to make sure you can do it, but you are not able to attack if you do that. I think that makes sense because if you hit a creature, then they're looking like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like you hit them and then put your hood on. Like, come on, bro. They like know you're there. And also you don't have time to do both of those things. You got to choose one. So I think this, for right now, in this very second, makes sense that you choose to do this and you forego doing any damage. You hide and you cannot be attacked. And then immediately on the next turn, you turn this out. It doesn't cost you anything to take it out of it. And now you get a +1 on your next attack roll. That's interesting. Ooh, you just got an idea that there's this blade that gets stronger the more bleed it deals in a fight or a lifetime. Wow, furry. So like every time you hit it, you do a +1 damage to it. That's what that token's supposed to be. That could be pretty cool. That would be a really fun one. I could see that being really cool. But you have to hit creatures that are bleeding. Wow. Wow, wow, wee, wow. Oh, that was a joke for another variant. Oh yeah, like like another Assassin's Blade. All right, well, we're gonna keep that off to the side as an idea for another card. Okay, I am feeling this. If just by some strange twist of fate, I can just come up with Eris's character ability, this hero might actually be like able to play, which is one step closer to going back to playtests again, which would be really cool. Let's see. Shadow Cloak. This is all done. Their thing, again, it has to be something that plays off of other heroes. Mr. Krabs, I have an idea for a thing called an assassin's blade. Oh, that's not a Mr. Krabs line. That's a SpongeBobbykins, a Roberto line. Mr. Krabs, I have an idea for a thing called the assassin's blade. Did you guys see the new SpongeBob movie? That movie, oh my God, I was laughing so hard in that movie. That's one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. When he's rolling on the floor and he's like, did you cry to your mommy and pee-pee your pants? I forget what he was saying, but I was dying. I was dying. That movie was so good. Oh my God, that movie was so good. Oh my God, that movie, so good. Yeah, the Ice Spice one. Yo, I'm telling you, for real. I mean, I don't know if you have the same sense of humor as me, but I went into that movie not expecting anything because I think SpongeBob is like humorous. I don't know, like I don't think I really laugh out loud with SpongeBob, but it's a great show and I think it's funny, but I don't like laugh. And the first 40 minutes of that movie, I was like unexpectedly, like out of nowhere, just gut laughing. There was, I don't know what they did. I don't know how they wrote it, but it was super funny. My dad steals my mom's money immediately. So my sister says, Mr. Krabs, I have an idea. Yeah, that movie was great. I don't know why it hasn't come out on streaming yet either. That movie was like, came out like 700 years ago. And I'm like, I can want to see it again because I was like laughing so hard at it. I haven't like laughed at like regular movies. And you know, the whole thing is like comedy's like just not happening anymore. And I was like, I want to watch this movie again, but no. Oh my God. Okay. How long was the stream, by the way? Oh my God. How long have I been streaming? A 2-hour stream? Guys, it feels like I've been here for like literally 37 minutes. Oh my God, 2-hour stream. Okay. Well, you know what? This was amazing because this this character is almost done. I have an idea. I think I'm going to do something where Eris gets a +1 when attacking a creature that has a miss token. I'm going to try something different. Does that make sense? I don't think so. No. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. What is Eris's ability? Eris has an ability to... I'm like trying to think. She could I'm thinking she could get a +1 when attacking a creature. Is it 10? She has 10. Yeah. Cursed Heart. Originally she had this thing where on a critical she gets a +1 to her health, but I don't want to do that because that's not really going to help us right now. It doesn't help the team. So what does she do? She how can she interact with the other heroes? She could give a bonus to other heroes if she does blah, blah, blah. She can cause bleeding. If she does cause bleeding, she can do something. How could you interact with other heroes? She drinks and cooks blood. Sure, let's put it in. No, I'm just kidding. What's the last thing we could do here? She... She can... Darn. What if she just can... What if she gets a... do +1 damage if attacking a creature. She can do backflips to boost morale. That's great. Do +1 damage if attacking a creature that was just attacked. So she can do 1 extra damage if you hit a creature that someone else just hit. So that's pretty good. I think we could go with that. So she's kind of like a follow-up. You want someone to hit someone, one of the creatures, and then she jumps in and hits them and she gets an extra damage on that. Okay, let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? I can go get lunch. We're already at 2 hours. Dang, I did not know I was gonna stream for 2 hours. Streaming up in here like I ain't got a care in the world. Okay, let's do it. Maybe, I mean, we'll find out tomorrow. Again, like my streaming schedule just a little loose this week because I'm trying to finish up this Scroll to Sleep app. And I'm also just rebounding from last week where I just really mucked up my consistency. Which is fine, it happens. But when I stream again, I should say, when I'm back online, we will take Eris for a spin. And I kind of feel like this isn't final, but I mean, it feels pretty good. Bleeding will still do damage over time, though it will be based on the creature's ability to bleed and how much they bleed when they're bleeding. From horror to scrolling to horror scrolling to sleep scrolling. Exactly. I know, I gotta finish up all these little sheep. Okay, let's go ahead and save it. Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot. Did we really get the breakthrough that I've been waiting for? Wow. It could be. It could be. I do feel like she might have too many cards. That kind of bothers me a little bit. Maybe after all this work, we might actually just get rid of the Shadow Cloak, like completely. I could see that happening, where this is just the entire kit. Because I'd really rather keep the Blood Dagger. It is a really fun card. I think it's really neat. And it kind of plays into her whole style. But you are kind of limited. You can really only do one attack over and over again, along with the caltrops, but those disappear. Yeah. Anyway. All right. This is great. Fourth blade. Likes and subscribes. Thanks, Raymond. Yeah, right on. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. Wow. You know, my streaming schedule has been like up and down and up and down. You guys can tell I'm still pretty tired. But this was great. I mean, maybe, just maybe, we actually are at a point where I could play Eris. Be really sick. I do really want to get back to playtesting. Like, so bad. I want to get back to playtesting so bad. But I do feel like this is worth it. I feel like we're doing a good job here. This is great. Raymond, thanks so much for hanging out. Furry, thanks for hanging out here. You guys have a great day, and maybe I'll be back tomorrow. I think I will. Not for a 2-hour stream, but I think I'll be back tomorrow and we can take Eris for a spin. And if not, I'll definitely be here on Friday because I want to make sure I keep up with my stream schedule and just start getting it back together. So thanks for the hangout, guys. Thanks for all the great ideas. I hope you guys feel inspired because you guys help me feel inspired. And I will see you guys next time. Curtis Wow. Ow.